Hello everybody, this is Akhier, and we are back in the SCP Foundation. And today I have something different from what I've done before. I'm doing a different read. Instead of one of the SCP proper, we are going to be reading the entry for the SIMULACRUM Project. Last week, I read the Planetary Computing Complex, SCP 7634, and it mentioned this. And so I figured this would be a good little thing to read because it was interesting to me. So yes, also it has a different color scheme, which I find fun. Connecting simulacrum.main /p/n, or not slash, it would be dash. Yeah, -p-n 50021. Command received. Please wait as the necessary authentication protocols are completed. Waiting. New user has been successfully verified, retrieving the necessary content for available SIMULACRUM databases, generating automated document. And that's the SIMULACRUM Project emblem. Welcome to the SIMULACRUM Project. Regardless of your clearance, status, appearance, and or previous history, we would like to extend our appreciation and thank you for your attendance, willingly or not. Our world is continuously expanding and evolving. However, our organization remains stagnant. The intake of hundreds, if not thousands of anomalies has exhausted Foundation resources and manpower for decades. Again and again, we attempt to circumvent the inevitable, but still fall short every time. With no clear solution in mind, the Foundation has simply turned its head and remained as a reactionary force, pretending that its overwhelming size and authority could simply tough through until the end. But those methods are no longer effective. Now it is our turn to evolve, using every resource at our disposal. The SIMULACRUM Project is dedicated to 3 core objectives: efficiency, control, and expansion. As of now, we are responsible for 1365045 users spread across 362458 environments currently hosted by the SIMULACRUM infrastructure. By the end of 2100, this number is projected to range well into the billions, encompassing most, if not all, of the human population. But there is still much work ahead for us before we can ever achieve that goal. Cyberspace has plenty of unique and dangerous wonders that we have yet to unravel. Many obstacles still stand in our path before the SIMULACRUM Project can be completed. Luckily, however, we have dedicated people like you. Those who are willing to fight through the tough battles and ensure that our vision can be seen to its absolute conclusion. We are ecstatic to have you with us and expect many great things. Do not let us down. That's a fun little introduction. Compiling all available documents related to SIMULACRUM. One moment. And here's a bunch of database entries. These are basically a bunch of the SCPs related to this. Last week, the 7634 is not directly mentioned here. If we just kind of scroll through these, and they've got a few. But yeah, that one wasn't directly mentioned. And I don't know if I don't think there's supposed to be all these. These are just like, if we come up here, it's references. Yeah, this is just a few of them that is considered decent. Or specifically picked out, whatever the quality, by the person running the page. So that's fun. And then we also have some external documents, which in this case means the stories and whatnot related to this. And there's only a few. Fair enough. And then, end of available documentation. Accessing archives for further data related to SIMULACRUM. Data found. Displaying available content. And then, here's the out of character section for this. Okay, just some of those. So the overview. Hello again. Welcome to SIMULACRUM, a universe project created by Jack Dragon X. It's great that you're here. I'm sure you have several questions about both what this universe looks like and how it functions. So let's go through the basics. SIMULACRUM, at its very core, is an expansive, interconnected network of Foundation-operated simulations hosted through advanced paranormal technologies and complex network infrastructure. Said simulations can take a variety of different forms, whether acting as replicas of our physical world, a fantasy realm with alternate laws of physics, or even another canon. The technology necessary to host SIMULACRUM is predominantly centralized at Site 119. However, that doesn't mean other sites aren't capable of connecting and utilizing it. SIMULACRUM has 3 fundamental goals to the Foundation once it's fully completed. Number 1, providing them with the ability to maintain the veil by migrating humanity into non-anomalous simulated worlds once SIMULACRUM is fully completed. So basically, the Foundation wants to keep humans ignorant of what's going on with SCPs and stuff, even to the point where they take them and matrix them into a normal world with the idea of, well, technically they're living a completely abnormal life, but they can live normally. And there are actually some decent reasons why you want to do that, given some of the SCPs that are out there. For instance, there are various deity-style beings that the belief in paranormal, or the belief in them specifically, empowers them. And other non-deity related things also, where just like, oh, because everyone's like, ooh, magic's real now, they would gain more power from that belief. So, even though everyone is literally matrixed, basically, the fact that they don't believe in magic, despite literally magical technology, paranormal technology being used to provide their world in entirety, the fact things are normal for them means that certain SCPs will have lower power levels. So yeah, there are reasons to do this beyond just like, we've got to keep everything secret, no one can know. There are functional reasons for doing so. So that's interesting. Second goal, granting full control of reality as it's perceived within their simulations, either to mitigate anomalies or to alter humanity's perception in case of emergency. This one is feels more like a follow-on of the last one, where it's like, we want to make a non-anomalous world for them to live in. And it's like, okay. And sometimes things will slip through the cracks. Like, once again, back to the Matrix, because this is very much the Matrix, and a bunch of science fiction in the past has laid down the building blocks for this. The idea of a digital world that you can live in without realizing it's digital even goes into simulation theory, where there's the theory, the idea, the concept that you and me right now are actually in a simulation. And we don't know. We cannot tell. And the fun thing is, that could be true. That we have no way to prove it's not. Which is why you don't need to worry about it, as far as I'm concerned. I have a similar view on it to the whole argument about, do we have free will? And the answer is, it doesn't matter. Because either, one, we don't have free will, so what are you complaining about? Why worry about it? You have no choice. Just live your life and don't be bothered about it, because it wasn't a thing to worry about in the first place, because you are not capable of worrying of it. Or you are, but your worry is more of a stage play. And you are just a puppet. But in that puppetness, like, just live your life normally, because as much as you don't have control, and there's people like to use this as like an excuse for like doing bad things. one of the, like, it's a super villain kind of motivation kind of thing where it's like, well, nothing matters, so nothing I do matters. Well, for one, if nothing matters, why are you being such a dick about it? That just doesn't matter, but still, you're being a dick. But also, you not having free will and them not having free will just means that when they do something to you in turn because you're being a dick, well, you can't blame them for it. They don't have free will. It's like, with or without free will, if you speed on the highway, the cops are still gonna pull you over. So, don't worry yourself about whether you don't have free will. Just live your life. And then on the other side, if we do have free will, then what you do matters. And so, like, that means, yes, they're going to pull you over on the road, but it was your choice to speed, so don't do it. Don't drive, don't do anything. Like, don't be an idiot. And more than that, I don't like the argument that people didn't have control when they drink and drive. Because you go back far enough, you made the choice. Now, if someone was, I don't know, someone spiked the drink or something and you didn't know was alcoholic and you've not been drunk or something, you didn't realize something was wrong, which is, like maybe you left before it hit. That's okay, but at that point, that would be my legal argument. I wasn't intending to drink and drive. I was basically poisoned against my will. However, you drank and then you drove. But I also think that some of the things that we do to people with crimes is kind of silly as well. So it's kind of one of those catch-22s. It's like, well, the prison system's broken, but you're an idiot. And if you can't admit that what you did is a problem, you're a problem. Like, I shouldn't say idiot. That's not... There's peer pressure and a lot of reasons. But yeah. Free will. So I just treat the question of free will or not free will just as a general, like, just act like it's free will. Either it didn't matter in the first place, or you had free will, so you better act like it. It's kind of like that thing people always use to, like, why you should worship God, where it's like, well, either God's not real, so whatever. Or what if he is? It's like you act the same way either way, but you get benefits if you're right. I'm not anti-religion. However, that argument is bunk. Because it's never, you should worship a God. It's you should worship our God. And let me tell you, there's a lot of gods and goddesses out there. So that's fun. But we're getting a little away from it. Number 3. Establish and create new sandboxes that can be used to either contain new anomalies, develop and create anomalies, or safely isolate themselves for other purposes, such as training new Foundation personnel. Yeah, I feel this is another subheading of the very first one, where it's like, we want to put everyone in a box that's not anomalous. And this one's just like, yeah, sometimes anomalies sneak into the box, so we want to grab them out of that and put them in a separate box. Fair enough. Yeah, that's a good thing to do. While these are certainly not the only things that SIMULACRUM encompasses, they are core to its overall theme of control, isolation, and expansion. Though, yeah, it's like, if you want the 3 checkboxes, which is a decent number. I mean, it's not just like, oh yeah, SCP, secure, contain, protect, whatever. But yeah, having it so you can, like, boil it down to control, isolation, and expansion is pretty good. That's a decent one. Oop, went a little too far. Next up, we've got frequently asked questions. Have further questions? Refer to below to see if any of these help you with finding your answer. how it works. As mentioned in the overview, SIMULACRUM is just a bunch of simulations that are layered together. While interpretations of how one acts as a SIMULACRUM are unique between articles, the universally accepted method is through jacking in, whether that be through a pod inside Site-119 or from some other virtual reality device strapped to the user's head. The simulations hosted through SIMULACRUM can be as open or constricted as needed to convey a story. While mostly acting independently from one another, simulation within simulations and top-down simulations are heavy elements within this universe and should be used to add dimension and depth to an article. What does SIMULACRUM look like? Externally, SIMULACRUM looks like a typical computer network, albeit fitted with anomalous technology or the occasional paranormal. .aic nodes across, paranormal. Okay, those dots are not periods, either one of them. Or the occasional paranormal .aic nodes across different sites and data centers are connected to each other via physical wireless connections, which are all used in conjunction with another to display or host SIMULACRUM simulations. Inside SIMULACRUM, it's entirely dependent on what simulation you're in. As an ordinary user, you might not be able to distinguish any differences. As an operator or administrator, you could fundamentally alter the landscape, environment, or even other people inside SIMULACRUM. Again, it all depends on your circumstances within the simulation and its intended function. Does the Foundation control everything? In terms of, does the Foundation control SIMULACRUM? The answer is yes. SIMULACRUM is managed by the Foundation. More specifically, is managed by Site-119 and their internal leadership, who reports to Overwatch Command. But in terms of anything outside of SIMULACRUM, the answer is no. The Foundation can't control everything. Technology isn't perfect, and very often it's prone to unexpected and complex errors that can result in devastating or interesting results. That's SCP-7311 that they're linking. Are there any stakes in SIMULACRUM? Yes, there are stakes and risks associated to SIMULACRUM. A classic example is that dying in a simulation means you still die in real life. You die in game, you die in life. System and technology failure are also heavily used to introduce danger to the Foundation and SIMULACRUM at large. Anomalies are also still a danger in the physical world of SIMULACRUM, even more so than in other universes or interpretations of the Foundation. Does everything have to be simulated? Nope, doesn't. SIMULACRUM is a universe split between a Foundation-inhabited physical world and then all the other simulated worlds. While these two certainly interconnect between each other in their own unique ways, they also act entirely independent. If you do not wish to write about simulations and instead wish to focus more on the physical element, that's both completely okay and encouraged. Can multiple universes exist? How does that work? Yeah, multiple universes can certainly exist within SIMULACRUM. In fact, its very nature is to allow other universes to cross into it. You can simulate anything you want with enough creativity, after all. Multiple events can all happen simultaneously, whether it's due to it occurring between two distinct simulations or in simulations within simulations. Also, I'll mention, one of the things that I really like about this setting specifically is technically you could make the entire SCP Foundation thing be a SIMULACRUM. One of those nesting box situations where it's like, or chicken and the egg, and, it's not. Some of you might take that and think, oh, he's saying this is what the whole thing is. No, it's not. First of all, it specifically mentions that they use anomalous technology to help make this. Thus, there are anomalies and SCPs in general. So, even if the whole Foundation site, the whole wiki, was literally just a simulation next to each other in an infinite number of little parallels where they got their own unique little SCPs to worry about, there would have to be SCPs in the paranormal within the world within which SIMULACRUM exists. And thus, while that is an interesting little headcanon or thought experiment where Oh yeah, the entire wiki is literally just a selection of simulated universes in a Simulacron event. And in fact, there are some SCPs, even before Simulacron, where the idea of everything being a simulation, or at least temporarily, while the Foundation tries to correct one of the HK end of world events, has happened before. But in the end, the important thing to remember about the wiki is that each SCP can be its own universe in a literal sense, where the Foundation is as compact or expansive or whatever as you need for the story. Because this is a creating writing project between multiple users and multiple years. And so what we think of as the Foundation now and what the original author might think of the Foundation are completely different things, yet at the same time can exist within the same written setting, wherein the setting is just so expansive and so just multi-dimensional in all kinds of sense of the word, an omniverse of potential, that there we go. It's just like, there is, in fact, in at least the way I look at it, with how the SCP Wiki works, there is totally an SCP universe, a subdimension out somewhere, where literally the Wiki is just a Simulacron event, where each of the SCPs that we are experiencing is actually the Foundation playing around with SCP creation or something. Wherein instead of a group writing experiment, it's a group SCP creation experiment. Where we like have all these famous doctors and stuff mentioned and whatnot in the simulation universe that I'm hypothesizing. Those are actually editors or writers or just general workers on the project making new instances of the SCP Foundation and new universes, new servers to like place the thing, and that's why some can mention others, but it doesn't go both ways. And that's an interesting take. But yeah, this kind of thing is exactly why I like what the Simulacrum Project implies, at least about some of the universes that are available through the SCP Foundation. And this is actually the last one for the fact. So, how are Simulacron simulations connected? Simulations are connected via Simulacron infrastructure, which is intended to replace skip.net as the Foundation's site-wide intranet. As such, and this is a link to 7311 again. As such, Simulacron servers and data centers are sporadically placed across Earth in different sites, most notable which include Site 1 and Site 119. That's a good point. What does... No. They were... down. No. I thought there was a link that was... Oh, 776. Okay, that was just another skip. Fair enough. And here we have a short little glossary of terms. Simulacron, network of interconnected simulations used by the Foundation to facilitate anomalous containment and eventually maintain the veil. Instance, a case or occurrence of something such as an object, element, person, or simulation. Simulation, a virtual copy or imitation of physical reality utilizing digital resources or technologies. Sandbox, any simulation or virtual reality that can be freely altered and edited by a host player. Okay, that's interesting. It looks like we're going more with the sandbox from a video game interpretation instead of sandbox from a IT perspective. Because with IT, the idea of sandboxing something is where you're cutting it off from the rest of everything else. So you like sandbox a virus on your computer so it can't hurt anything else. Or you make a sandbox a virtual PC so that you can test out something that could be janky, could be a virus, could be just weird in general, or just to like have a clean start to work on something. But no. The sandbox they're talking about is like a sandbox game, wherein this is an instance, and it's not being cut off from everything. It's just, or maybe it is, but the way it's described here, the actual definition is just, it's a sandbox game sandbox where you can do what you want and if you are the host. So like a creative Minecraft server would be a sandbox in the sense of, here it is, where you as the player can do whatever you want while the testificates are still stuck growing their food and whatnot. Player, a user interfacing with SIMULACRUM. Permissions, a set of rules defining how a player or user can use certain objects or specific technologies. Privileges, elevated permissions granted to specific users typical for accessing, executing, and or reading data. Variables, a representation of something within a simulation, allowing it to be edited or configured by others. Discovered more words not listed above? Feel free to add them to the above glossary to help other readers understand SIMULACRUM. I would be tempted to suggest sandbox. Sandbox as in video game, not sandbox as in PC. But we'll leave that as it is. Anyway, and here's the writing guide. I'm going to go over it just because that gives us a kind of feel for what these entries are going to be. Are you considering writing something for SIMULACRUM? Not particularly, but I do like seeing what you think the SIMULACRUM setting should contain. So let's read on. If so, great. There's not a whole lot that needs to be done. I should probably write a SCP at some point. I do what I make money off of is writing, so. However, there are a few things you should be made aware of. Before doing anything else, read. There are plenty of articles that you're free to explore and use as inspiration. I would personally begin with reading Tattletale, which is going to be the next video I release for the SCP Foundation Exploration Series, as it really helps jumpstart you into the overall tone and themes of SIMULACRUM. After that, try reading any of the other articles. Most don't require any previous reading, and all capture their own unique elements within SIMULACRUM. Once you've done some reading, it's time to write. You're free to write however you'd like. You don't have to include any established characters, articles, themes, or events, but you're free to reference if you'd like. You may also use the New Age theme, but again, it's by no means necessary. I'm guessing this is the New Age theme. Let's see, is that theme New Age? I'm gonna guess it's just a. Okay, yeah. Oh, and it was yeah, cool. It was made for this, so that's fun. Cool. I like it. Simulated fiction, or any other type of fiction that involves simulated or artificial worlds, has a variety of themes and elements to explore. While not necessary to have a complete and exciting story, there are several themes in particular you can consider when conceptualizing your SCP article or tale for SIMULACRUM. Virtual or physical reality. What makes these different? What makes them unique? How would someone be able to interact between these two and describe their experiences? All these questions are significant to SIMULACRUM and, moreover, important to your reader, who may have to determine the distinction for themselves. Escapism. The idea of living inside of a simulation at someone else's control may be terrifying to some. Trying to escape from a hellish world, on the other hand, could scare others. Consider these when exploring SIMULACRUM and its uses. After all, what if one of your characters needs to escape from something? Life inside a simulation. What do you think living in a simulation would look like? The amazing digital circus. honestly, the Amazing Digital Circus would make a pretty good SIMULACRUM SCP article, wherein the Amazing Digital Circus itself is a precursor to the SIMULACRUM project that they have now, wherein instead of like actually going in with your mind, it's scanning the mind files. There we go. Cool little thing. Yeah. Actually. Yeah, no, that's exactly what it. Sure. What do you think living inside a simulation would look like? Would you be able to tell? Or others? Consider the environment, how it might play a role in leading your protagonist to their climaxing conclusion. Control. Who's pulling the string? Kane. Who's the one being controlled? SIMULACRUM allows for a broad network of top-down authority. You can explore the benefits and negatives of such a system. In the Amazing Digital Circus. I'm gonna stop with the references. You get it now. I particularly enjoy that. So, on with the show. Or perhaps introduce a new perspective into how the Foundation, or the users underneath them, sees control. Faulty machinery. Technology is always prone to errors. People grow too comfortable, and eventually this leads to things breaking. What might this look like in SIMULACRUM? If a server goes down, for example, what are the ramifications for people living in a simulation? What happens to the system operators who might also be jacked into the system? Isolation. Living in a simulation all by yourself seems lonely, doesn't it? What about being the only operator left in the physical world? Isolation and loneliness are heavy elements to this universe. Feel free to explore how your characters might react to being isolated from their friends and family. Where'd I... No, it's down there. I can't unzip myself. Abstraction. The SIMULACRUM universe is expansive and layered. Multiple simulations may work in tandem with each other, or possibly overlay themselves onto one another. This abstraction of different SIMULACRUM simulation layers could result in unique and peculiar discoveries that are worth exploration. What do you think would happen if you lived in a simulation within another simulation? Which is actually part of the simulation theory I was talking about earlier. Some people even think that we're not even like on the top level simulation. Like, there's like the real world, and then there's a simulation, because the people at the top world, well, we try to want to figure out how stuff, so let's simulate it. And then that simulation has people in it because they're trying to copy stuff. And then they make a simulation, and they make a simulation. Somewhere down, far down, we might be in a simulation of and our world's janky because it's like copying a JPEG over and over, except in this case, it's also like simplified specifically to be simple so that it's easier to simulate for the simulation, or as they might think of it, the real world. Especially if it's done in such a way to prevent people from fully realizing they are in a simulation. It's fun. While the above aren't required for a SIMULACRUM story, they should at least provide you some ideas to consider. Keep in mind, again, to read the other entries in SIMULACRUM. You may uncover an explored idea that you can expand and grow upon. Additionally, you're always free to contact Jack Dragon X for further help, either through wiki.pms or Discord. It's fun. Nice when creators still active with their thing. Though, and yeah, that's the SIMULACRUM project. Like I said, the next thing I'm going to put out will be Tattletale, because that seems fun. But that'll be next week, I think. Maybe I'll find something short to do for short. Whatever. The SIMULACRUM project is an interesting setting within the SCP universe, and it provides some interesting stories, which I'll be getting into. And hopefully that'll be fun. So yeah. Please, if you want to see more, subscribe. And even if you don't, just leave a like. Please, like the video. And if you did subscribe, ring the bell. This is Akhier, and I'm signing off.